Welcome back to Surface Unscripted, episode 168. Brevan, it's been a tough weekend for the South Africans. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. It is what it is, I guess. We'll get into every game, but we just want to give a little... we haven't watched all the games, right? We're filming this on Sunday, but La Rochelle and Leinster hasn't played. Bristol hasn't played. Bath hasn't played. So those are the three games. And at the moment, Toulon is leading Harlequins 26-0. Now, I would say that means that Toulon's winning that game. But then you look at yesterday's game, and Saints led 21-0 at halftime, and they lost the game. So, you never know what's going to happen. But that's just a little caveat for when we talk. But we'll probably most likely just focus mainly on the South African games. But before we get into that, Brevan, brother, how are you doing?
Yeah, man. All good. I think we did pretty well with our predictions in the sense that of the SAFA teams, we kind of read the room quite well. Maybe not necessarily some of the margins, but yeah, it was an interesting week of rugby, and everyone. I am in a different location for the week, so I think 2 episodes of this background. That's all you'll have to deal with. Yeah. Maybe it's even better than the one before. But
so if the Wi-Fi cuts out, it's just because Brevan's not at home. That's basically the gist of it.
But it should hold. It should hold.
Yeah. Anyway, people, if you do like Surface Unscripted, you do like the way that we just chat and as pure fans of the game, and you are a fan of the game as well, please do remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate your love and support all the way. Anyway, let's start off. We'll start with Stormers versus Sale. 40.0. How sexy is that, Brevan? We didn't have all our big names back. Like we mentioned the likes of Evan Roos came back and he came off the bench, right? But there was still no Ben Jason Dixon. There was still no Sasha. There was still no Warwick Khalan. And that was a strong Sale team. That's probably as strong as they go, except for if you just add George Ford into it. 40.0.
I
love it.
That's crazy. Yeah, and you were like, we're gonna lead by quite a bit and then leak some more tries in because defense is shaky and they're 0 points conceded. Like you rarely ever see that in a game of rugby these days. And yeah, I mean the Stormers, I think we've noticed throughout the season, like at a stage the Lions kind of looked like they were the best team, and then the Bulls kind of looked like they were going to be the best team, and now tables are turning. I think Stormers are starting to stamp their authority as kind of like the team to fly the colours high of South Africa. So, yeah, interesting times, and I think fully deserved win. And like you said, it wasn't like it's discredited by the team selection of Sale. I just think, like that is a hiding and a half. And, obviously, I mean, you sent me a message with saying, dealing with Gelant and Ungara, and obviously Gelant getting man of the match, and Ungara actually
was
having an alright game.
Yeah. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm not a hater, right? I've just never seen Ungara perform well. But he was so good. Like, seriously, on a non-biased note, like I know I've said before, like I don't really see the talent I don't feel like Ungara should be in the team. But he played so well yesterday. I would have given Ungara man of the match. That's just how good he was yesterday. He was everywhere. He looked for work all the time. He wasn't slow at the breakdown at all. He was so quick, actually, at the breakdown. He was everywhere, right? And if Ungara can put in performances like that, I have no problem with him. Then I love Ungara. That's kind of what I base it on. And he was so good yesterday. He controlled the game beautifully. He was there for every single offload. He was there at every breakdown. Quick. I never watched the game and I was like, where the fuck is Ungara? I never watched the game and thought that. That's usually what I think, right? When it's like, where's my 9? Why is Marnie passing the ball out of the ruck? Or some Lucy? But Ungara was excellent, and Warwick started off with a shocker, in my opinion. I mean, he had his first kick charged down and everything. And it's just like, I've got mixed feelings about Warwick, because I don't have an issue with him being man of the match because he did some outstanding stuff. And we all know Warwick, when it goes for him, it goes very, very well for him. But when it goes badly, you have to hook that guy. And he had a very, very slow start, and then he just kind of came into the game. But it's always that thing of like, why don't you just take contact normally? Like it always has to be something magical that happens.
Yeah.
And if we can get Warwick to perform on a consistent basis, I would love him. I would absolutely love Warwick. I thought Mani was sensational yesterday as well. Mani was really, really good. I thought Dion Fourier had a good game. I was really impressed by Jay Schickling. He was up there for a man of the match performance as well. And Neetling Fouchier, like I've never seen Frans Malherbe get scrummed like that, but Neetling Fouchier came on, and well, to be fair, right, I'm saying Frans Malherbe gets scrummed like that. I thought the ref was bad at the scrums, but then when Neetling Fouchier came on, he just dominated at scrum time. I mean, look at what he did to Orcs as well. Look at what he's done to the Lions guys. This guy, he's so good. On form. Tell me there's no better prop than Neetling Fouchier at the moment. That's just how good he is. Like, if you have to go off recency bias.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him those past couple of performances, and I think we've made the shot for Neetling to maybe step up to the Springbok setup at a point for a long time, and I think he's trying his best to do that. But yeah, ultimately, like with regards to Warwick Gelant, you know, even when he was at the Bulls, that first season I really got to see a lot of him. I really liked him because of his risk-taking play, which was working that season. You know, he'd always managed to find the gaps, always managed to make the breakthrough, break the defense line. But now, like you say, I feel like he's a player that relies so much on risks. Like, how can I explain this? Like he will take a gap that most players would rather just take contact and know you have the safe, secure ball. But he wants to try that something like, and sometimes, like you said, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And there needs to be a balance, maybe, of just consistency and knowing when to try something and not to try something. But I feel like that's just the whole Stormers team. You know, the Stormers base their rugby on. It's a completely different style compared to the Bulls, the Sharks, the Lions. It's a very free-flowing, quick, flary backline team, you know, just very good with ball in hand, you know, good at counter-attacking, taking it deep and running it. It's just that's how they are, and they're confident with that. So I'm glad the Stormers are finding their feet. It's about time, and I'm glad the players are back. Obviously, there's more to come, I'm sure, with Sasha, obviously, and Willemse. I mean, you guys can still get better, and that's what should be exciting for you, is because this team can only get better from that, and I think that's a massive positive to look at.
Yeah, I don't want to beat around the bush. Although Sale got spanked, obviously they could have got some points. I think the coach of Sale will obviously feel a bit disappointed with how clinical they were. They had a good few. I think they had like 9 or 10 22 entries and got 0 points from it. A couple of times they were 5 meters away, didn't get anything. I think it was Rob Dupree that put in a beautiful cross kick with an open try line in front of the winger, and he knocked the ball, right? There was no cover defense at all. If you took that was a try in the corner. But, you know, as a Stormers fan, I don't really care. I'm just so happy that we've won. Whether we go to France and beat Racing or not, I'm just happy that we finally putting in a couple of performances together, and it doesn't look like just a couple of scrappy tries and we're just trying to survive. We're playing some decent rugby again, which is obviously great. And we said that we expect that from the Stormers when our strongest boys come through, but obviously the moral could have been so down in the dumps, but it looks like the team's happy again. You see the smiles, you see Dobber smiling, and he's happy and he's excited for the games, and that's always what you want. I'm excited to watch the Stormers again after our terrible start with all of our injuries, and that just tells you the big name players how much of a difference they make as soon as you come back. I mean, the crowd was. It wasn't a stacked out crowd because obviously a lot of people have gone back to work now. They're not necessarily going to spend their money. It's not payday yet. I mean, December is expensive. But even the crowd, it was a pretty stacked crowd. The crowd were they were pretty rowdy. They were happy to be there. They were loud. So yeah, as a Stormers fan, I don't have any issues. You know, I'm just happy that we got it over the line, and I thought we thoroughly deserved this victory. I think we could have even got a couple of more points. So overall, happy. But let's move from happiness to sadness. we'll skip the Sharks game quickly. Let's chat about your team. 49 points to 10 against Cast. Bulls lose once again. But I mean, did we expect anything different? Because we filmed our predictions before the squad lineup, and then we saw the squads, and then it was like, yeah, okay, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people saying, like, at this point, should the Bulls even be considered to compete if this is how they treat the tournament? And obviously, I've had my stance on this, where I'm like, 50% of that I completely agree. I think there's a time and a place to rest the team. And then the other 50% was like, I know they've just come off a break, but again, schedule becomes crazy with the traveling. And but like I said, South African rugby's only done themselves justice by entering, let's say, this tournament because of the traveling. Because realistically, that's on us. If we want to compete, we have to deal with the travels. But that doesn't mean you can necessarily go and embarrass the Bulls like this. I think that's 3 games in a row now, a loss. Not good. They've lost 3 on the bounce against in Champions Cup. And look, half the time the game was close. Even 60 minutes in, at 60 minutes it was 16-10. Like, I can respect that from a second string team that's going to another team.
That almost makes it a bit worse.
But that's the thing. How do you collapse? I guess that's just the inexperience of the team, you know. You're talking about guys who only play a couple games a season, but just to collapse like that, and it's really, I don't really know what to say about it. I think I'm glad that depth was built in a way that they got experience, but again, how is it good experience because they got absolutely annihilated in the last 20? So yeah, I think I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm not gonna lie about the future of the Bulls and how it's being run and decisions are being made, and it is a tricky one at the moment.
I don't want to be hypocritical or anything. Like I can't see how it's bad experience necessarily for the youngsters. Obviously, they got smashed, right? But we predicted even a full strength Bulls team would lose. I predicted it on full strength Bulls because I know Cost is very good at home, right? But I think when you give the younger guys opportunity, like, it is what it is. I mean, you can't really have an expectation on them. We said it about the Stormers. I said I'm fine with us getting smashed against who was it, Harlequins, because we've got young guys out there. You know, they need to understand the system. They need to understand what the level of this type of rugby is, what the pace the game is played at is. They need to understand those type of things, and the only way that they're going to get that is to play against those teams, play for the Bulls. But still, a 49-10 after 60 minutes, as you said, that's still a tough pill to swallow, right? Like, no one likes conceding that 35 points in, or 39 points, sorry. I'm thinking about the Bulls score. About 30 points in 20 minutes. You know, like, yeah. It's still a tough pill to swallow. But I'm sure those guys, they'll take that experience. When you're back home, I think as soon as the Bulls get another win, that little taste of victory, it will feel a lot better again. For the Bulls, that probably puts the nail in the coffin in terms of going further. If I just look at the table,
it's done because Munster beat Sarens.
Yeah, so the Bulls are last with 1 game left. If they get 5 points, they're on the same as Stade Francais, and Stade Francais got nearly 50 points on you in terms of point difference as well. But if they're going on points difference.
Does is it like...
But they can't get into the top 4. Yeah.
No, but now I can't remember if this is a thing because I know it isn't football, but can a team not in the top 4 go to the Challenge Cup? Or is that no longer a thing?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think that it might be the 5th position of everyone or the top 2 5th positions.
Okay, makes sense. Now I'm just curious because if we do somehow fall into that, I think Jake should take it very seriously. We saw what it did for the Sharks. It's a nice thing to win. But yeah, ultimately, we're missing players like Ruan Nokia so much. Like, he's been out since that Springbok camp when we heard he got an injury, and it's actually been quite a while. So, and I have not heard anything about what injury it is. So it's a bit concerning that we're not getting updates on this. Clear as day, Kirkley is being missed, but he'll be back by the end of this closer to playoffs in the URC. But yeah, I think the Bulls series, people can question Jake White, and I agree. They should be questioning Jake White, especially in this run of form. But yeah, I think the Bulls the leaders need to step up. Marcel Coetzee, you can consider Hanekom a senior player now, Ulrich Lowe, and we can keep going on. These players really need to step up now and put in a shift, because another loss and you start to look like real clowns, real clowns. So
you don't want to end up on 0 points in the pool stages.
And obviously we're playing against, I think, Stade Francais next. I think it's one of the French teams at Loftus next week, I believe it is, and
that's a must-win game.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't care if we are out of the Champions Cup. I want to see my full-strength team playing at Loftus, like you've been saying, or back at Loftus, like you did for the Saints game, and look what happened.
URC obviously starts after that. The Bulls have no other focus other than URC, obviously, after this. So get your URC boys out to at least see it as some prep for the URC going forward, so you don't catch a cold one when your first game is back in the URC. Because who's your first game in the URC back? Isn't that the Stormers?
Well, the thing is, 3 South African teams in a row, I believe. It goes Sharks, Stormers, and Lions, all in 3 weeks at Loftus. It's a 3-week Loftus thing where we play all 3 South African teams. Now, look, as much as I don't want to set my expectations too high, but if I'm looking at a Bulls team at the beginning of the season, I'm expecting 3 out of 3 in those home games. Genuinely.
You should. Even from last season, yeah.
And I'm still expecting it because I believe we're a good enough team for that. But if the attitude is not there, and the game plan, I'm not seeing much game plan from Jake either, it's worrying. So maybe I need to adjust my expectations, but I still want to see 3 good performances in those games, because 3 losses or 2 losses there to Sharks and Stormers, Lions, maybe we've seen them bring us very close and have been decent this season. And then you start looking at the URC table and thinking, flip. Now we're fighting for like an away playoff game, and it's like you can't let that happen. So yeah, it's very interesting times for my team. That I will not lie.
Yeah, and then we go on to the final South African team that played this weekend in the Champions Cup, Sharks versus Toulouse. It ended up being tighter than most people would probably say, as we kind of predicted. Like I went with Toulouse by 8 points. I think you went Toulouse by 10 points, and they ended up winning by 12 points. Close game, right? Fiery game as well. Where do you even start with this game?
I just think Toulouse are too good. The Sharks showed a lot. I will give them that. They tried. There was a lot of passion on that field. They didn't give up. But like I said, and I think a lot of South African fans, especially, we've grown up just knowing. Because we've only been introduced to this Champions Cup for the past 2 years properly, right? But or we could say 3. But before that, when we grew up, all we knew was Super Rugby, and we knew the New Zealand and Australian teams. That's what we knew. We obviously, as rugby fans, we may have been paying attention about overseas teams and knowing about them and how they are and who they're about and everything about that. But I think people need to realize you're looking at some of the best rugby team or club rugby teams in history, like with Leinster, Toulouse, etc. These guys have had names like Bucky Spoorter, Brian Abana. These guys have all played for Toulouse. Like, this is a huge team in the world of rugby, and they are always going to be a powerhouse. And I think the Sharks can hold their heads high in the sense that they did not get smashed by a very good Toulouse team. And
would you say it could have been a different story? I know we're talking if buts maybes, right? I don't really like talking about that. But if you added Eben Etzebeth, you added Andre Estres and Apelile Fassi, Lucanio. If you added those guys to that Sharks team, it could have been a very, very interesting game, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if
I
you
think it
just
would
look
have
at the
been
way that this...
closer.
Hey?
I'm not saying they would have won, but I think it could have been a 3-point game then, maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
they would have won. But like I said, you can only go on what you have in front of you. And
Yeah.
where did
No, fair enough.
Toulouse ever look like they were, worried or struggling, or
Yeah.
they went about their business, good physical team, and just dude, look, people are gonna watch that game and say, "Oh, DuPont, why are you calling him the best in the world?" Like, but the fact is, like, he had a decent game, you know. I think he maybe lost a few balls, but I thought he had a very good game. But I think what Sharks can be proud of, especially in this case, is the fact that if you look at the try they scored, not one, okay, maybe a Springbok touched the ball, but no influential touches of the ball towards the try line to score that try was done by a Springbok player. The juniors really stood up, took the bull by the horn, and just tried to make something of that game. And it was the inevitable happened. That's all I'm going to say, and that's no
Yeah.
disrespect to the
You
Sharks.
look
It's
at this
just
Toulouse team, and it's tough to find any weaknesses, right? They match up
yeah,
physically, they match up in terms of flair, they match up with quality. You look at that bench, Kapuatsu and Juan Cruz Malia, those guys probably start for any team in the world, right? Even Cyril Bay, the guy's on the bench, you know, and he's widely considered as one of the best props in the world. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, as you said, you couldn't have worded it any better in terms of the inevitable happened. Like we expected to lose to win, but we also said that the Sharks will show some fighting spirit, and that's what they did in the end. Like it was a quality team that just they are the better team. But the
yeah,
Sharks boys, they can be proud of that performance. I mean, Toulouse, they've scored 19 tries in 2 games.
yeah.
That so to keep
Then
them
yeah.
to under 3 tries is obviously uh, great for them.
And the thing is, like, as much as they had a lot of their main boys there, the Sharks, like you said, they did have injuries, and obviously we'll never try to use that as an excuse. But like you said, there's always like you said, not necessarily a caveat, but it does hurt a team when injuries come into play, and they
Yeah,
are missing four. I can think of it, or even Grant Williams didn't play yesterday. Five
yeah,
players that would easily start for that Sharks team. So it does suck, but you know what? Like you said, the Sharks are looking better, and I think that's
yeah,
the main thing. Is that was a good result for what you had, and you just need to realize that these are the guys that will most likely be in the final, regardless of
yeah.
who wins it. You know,
No,
so
fully
yeah,
agree. Anyway, let's move on. Friday night we had one game, Glasgow versus Racing. Scoreline ending in 29-19. If I'm not mistaken, I think the scoreline was about 16-0 or something for Glasgow. They really came out of the blocks flying. And then Racing just pulled it back a bit, losing in the end by 10 points. It's not too bad when you go against Glasgow. Like they are a quality team. I want to give some props to Racing for a kind of never say die attitude. But you have to give credit to Glasgow. Just every single time, they just get it done. They just play such lovely rugby. Sione Tuipolatu, once again, it's just a beast. How many line breaks does that guy want to make in a game? Like it's
yeah,
out of this world.
yeah. I think well, there's your British and Irish Lions number 12, nailed on in my opinion. Obviously, bearing in mind he has a good Six Nations and touch wood injury free as well, but he is absolutely insane. Like I would put him up there on form with Damien Delende at the moment. Like he is that good.
Yeah. Well, Rugby Pass had him
Yeah,
above Damien the Islanders, so
that's crazy. But they are very much both in good form. Yeah, so I think that Glasgow team, like we have said for the past couple of weeks, there's no more such thing as an underdog Glasgow team anymore. It's a
no,
Glasgow team that you can expect to play a
out of the
very
skin.
difficult 80 minutes of rugby. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's good. You know, it's always good when you have a Scottish team that's also able to take on the likes of a Irish powerhouse or a French powerhouse, because then you know rugby's like getting competitive, and that's what we want to see. So
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
it's great. It really is great, and obviously a good fight back from Racing, but I think you just the quality of Glasgow at the moment did what they needed to do, and yeah, they
And it's
can
kind of the
be happy.
victory that they needed, right? Because I brought up that they've lost, what was it, 2 games in quick succession. I don't think it was one after the other, but they lost 2 games, right? So obviously a bounce back victory like this is massive for them. I think this secures their top spot in the Champions Cup. Let me just make sure. Okay, so Toulon is right behind them. They still obviously need to play. And Toulon beat them, obviously. But
Well,
it
Toulon's winning right now,
secures their
eh?
qualification, right? And I think it secures their qualification at home as well in terms of placing in
Yeah,
the top 2, which
yeah,
is great for them. I mean, they're such a tough team to beat at home, and it's like even if you are in the lead by 20 points, you can never just write them off because the way that they attack is just so one after the other after the other. You have to defend for your life. And something like we always talk about how sexy their attack is. I don't think we always give enough credit for how good their defense is because they don't really leak points or anything. They're just a
yeah,
consistently good team, good in defense, good in attack. They've got some special players and they work very, very well. I mean, they've got an outstanding coach that they are. You look at that team and you're like, that's a very well coached team. Like it screams it through the TV to me when I watch Glasgow. So obviously,
yeah.
well done to them getting that victory. Exeter Bordeaux, 69 points to 17. We said it's going to be a hammering for Bordeaux. I thought it will be closer, about 55 to 60 minutes. Yeah, just once again, and 69 points, and Exeter was at home as well. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty much
do you
reminding me
just
of
say
the
Exeter
Toulouse
is
game.
bad at the moment and Bordeaux is that good, or you just say, do you have to
I
just
think
give credit?
Exeter are
To
bad. Obviously, give credit. It's always you're playing against the best in Europe, as you and obviously South Africa, if you want to call it. But I think Exeter are really struggling this season. Obviously they did well last season, which gets them into this season's Champions Cup. But bearing in mind this season they've been absolutely nowhere and arguably can't handle the Champions Cup. So
I think they've won
um,
one game.
yeah, it's been a bit of a downer for them this season. But obviously you can only play what's in front of you, and this is
Yeah.
what people need to realize. You can't say, "Oh, but you only played," but like every other team has to play that team, and sometimes things go wrong, sometimes things go right, but ultimately you have to just focus on every job that comes your way every week. So yeah, obviously Exeter will exit the competition and they can focus on Prem and start rebuilding, but obviously
Yeah, that's what needs to be
missing
done.
yeah
They need to
missing
focus on
Roboto,
local.
just not great. And yeah, but
Yeah,
anyways, they'll figure it out.
yeah. Fair enough. Upset. One of the 2 big upsets this weekend. Munster beating Saracens. I wouldn't say that's a massive upset, but it's an upset in terms of what we predicted. I said Saracens by 4. I thought it was going to be a close game, but Munster at home, just proving once again that they are a tough team to beat at home. I want to give them the credit. I'm on a WhatsApp group with a couple of other rugby creators, and they just said Saracens were very average, right? But it takes a decent team to make Saracens look average. I mean, you're a first-hand witness in terms of the quality that the Saracens do have, right? In terms of their physicality, they've got the big names and all those type of things. And for Munster to get that victory is obviously massive for them, and that victory puts them in second place in their group. That is a tight group. Like it's 11 points, 10 points, 10 points, 9 points. That's the top 4,
Sure.
all to play for.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like just Munster again. We keep saying maybe this is just not their season, and then they go and say, "Look, this
It's
is
every time
just
that
we
we
just
say that.
yeah."
Are we
So we're just
jinxing
gonna
them?
keep saying it, and they'll keep winning. But yeah, they do. They just tend to go off the radar, and then well, we back them, and then they go off the radar, and then we'd say, okay, maybe that was just that one good game, and then we say what we say, and then they go and they win. But yeah, interesting times. I think that's a huge win, and for Munster, and they should take a lot of confidence in that. Hopefully, build on that.
Oh,
But
we say that every time.
but
We
I'm
say
saying I'm
it
just
all.
gonna say it in a more cautious way. I just that's a big win. A Saracens win is big because obviously Saracens has got the likes of Itoje, Jamie George. I mean, I can keep going, but obviously can't think on the spot that quickly. But I think Munster, Ben Earl, even better. But yeah, I think Munster should just try to build on this, because that is not that Saracens would easily be within playoff range in the URC, I would believe, and I just think if that's the level of opponent you can be beating, then bring that form into the URC as well, because I think it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, probably the upset of the weekend. I didn't expect this at all. 45 points to 35. Stade Francais beat Saints after Saints led 21-0. That is craziness. Like, both of us said Saints will do it pretty comfortably because we don't expect Stade to put out their strongest team. I'm not sure what I wasn't able to watch the game, right? But I do know, like, obviously, in terms of they had that lead and then bottled it. That is a tough pill to swallow. Like 45 points conceded in one half.
Yeah, that's rough.
And then losing that game. Oh, that can't be nice.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say, because, like, I thought Saints really had this one. I thought they were looking really good. I think maybe it's probably just a lack of focus. That's the best thing I could put it down to, is being way too comfortable going into halftime and just coming out completely switched off. And I know as a player, like, it just takes that quick little try after halftime to quickly happen, and you're on the back foot and you're shocked. When your body's shocked, you don't know how to react. It takes a very good team to be able to get shocked and react to that. But a lot of teams will get shocked and they kind of like flip. Like, how do we deal with this onslaught now that's coming our way? Because you know it's coming. Momentum is a real thing in the sport. So, and then when it just starts coming and you can't deal with it, it can lead to things like this that happen. But it's all because of a mental switch off at halftime or something. So, Saints are obviously still a great team. They've got some massive results this year. Bulls at Loftus, beating Bath, who were leading the Prem. So they've beat some big teams this year. But then to do that, I think it will be quite tough. Like I said, a tough pill to swallow. Yeah. But I have no doubt that they'll be back to compete again.
You just look at that scoreline. They should have won that game, and that should have secured their probably top place, because then they would have ended on 15 points. But yeah, it is what it is. They'll know it's all to play for now next weekend. Yeah. So I'm not too sure who they're playing next weekend. Let me just make sure. They're playing Munster next weekend, but they're playing Munster at home. Like Saints is at home. So
that is still a tough game.
Yeah, it is, but they will back themselves to get it done. Like, you have to back yourself.
They should win. They should win, in my opinion. I think Munster obviously showing what they can do, but I still think Saints can nip that game. So yeah, they'll be like, but they'll be punching themselves, because this could have all been avoided, So
yeah,
it's going to take a bit of a mental switch this week to kind of just realize, okay, that happened, but now we have to get over it, because there's no time to dwell on it. Because if you lose this Munster game, then you're really like, oh, flip, So yeah.
Finally, we had Leicester Tigers versus Ulster.
Hammering.
I thought this will be the biggest margin win. Ulster kept it close. I think scores for a long time. When I checked it, I think it was at 12-10 to Tigers. But then obviously they ran away with it in the second half, ending up 38 points to 10 victors over Ulster. I think that secures the drop for Ulster out of the competition. But it's obviously a massive confidence victory for Leicester Tigers, getting it done at home as expected. Where would they be on the table now? Leicester Tigers third. On 11 points at the moment, which is obviously massive for them. Like, really, really big. Well, Ulster... Okay, no. Ulster has to put on a massive beating on who's Ulster playing? Exeter. They have to put on a beating on Exeter, and then Sharks has to lose by quite a margin against Bordeaux for Ulster to go through. But I can't see that happening.
Oof, but by beating, how bad are we talking?
So they are 56 points behind Sharks on points difference. So they have to beat let's say they have to beat Exeter by 35 points, and then the Sharks has to lose by about 25 points against.
But they're playing Bordeaux away, right?
Yeah, but I reckon the Sharks might send full strength just to kind of damage control.
I can see, no offense to because obviously I'm a Bulls fan, and I can't like chat here like I'm trying to badmouth anyone, but that Bordeaux team is very good, like very, very good, and I could see a world where Sharks lose that game by 20 odd points if they aren't careful. Let's just say that. And obviously Exeter being so obviously there's still a mathematical chance, and in my head it's more than 1%.
Ulster's at home.
But this is the thing. It's a bit tension there, so the Sharks have to be careful. But anyways, yeah, I get what you're saying. It shouldn't happen, but it could. So yeah, Ulster. All Ulster can do out there is go and beat Exeter convincingly, and kind of just hope that the Sharks completely blow it against Bordeaux. So
yeah, that Ulster game is before the Sharks game, so the Sharks will know exactly what to do, or what needs to be done in terms of progressing. Anyway, that wraps it up. Obviously, as we said, Toulon and Harlequins are playing 69 minutes or 70 minutes in at the moment. 33 points to 14 for Toulon. So Harlequins did score 2 tries, but Toulon also scored 1. We do expect Toulon to get it over the line in the final 10 minutes. Leinster and La Rochelle, we expected Leinster to get it over the line. Bristol, Benetton, we're going Bristol, and then Bath. Well, I said Bath to get it over the line. I think you said Bath as well, because they're at home against Clermont. Clermont.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously we are filming this before those games. Thank you for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe. And we will see you guys again on Friday, unless there's some major news dropping, and then we'll see you guys maybe on Wednesday. Have a good one, and bye-bye.